Well, everyone, the boss of Blizzard Entertainment has said that we are actually going to hear updates on Warcraft 3 Reforged in June. Now, this is also happening amid a lot of rumors that are sort of circulating in and around the people in the know of this game. I mean, the big name would be Grubby, if you're at all aware of Warcraft 3. So there's quite a lot to get into, actually.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a case of people are kind of actually ready for something to happen. Because in case you aren't aware, nothing's literally happened with Reforged since April last year.
Wild.
So it'll be about 14 months since the last patch, which was just a balance patch. None of the features have materialized whatsoever. None of the ladder, none of the profile. There are complaints about no moderation happening whatsoever in online play. So you just leave games, nothing's actually happening there.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, and a lot of those are things that they kind of said they would do.
Yeah,
and then
that's
it just
the point.
didn't materialize.
Yep, because obviously, also if you're following, the team who were on it were disbanded in 2020. The classic team just gone. So it does leave you wondering, who's working on this? If you're going to announce something, who's actually doing it? Because you haven't hired anyone.
Yeah, so something has clearly been formed within the company to actually deal with this game.
Just quietly.
Yeah, so a little bit of recap.
Yeah, they shifted internal people or something.
The art style of that game is so... There's a layer of Raid Shadow Legends they, I think, ended up applying, and maybe that could be fixed. Anyway, to go into things, how did it all go wrong? Well, basically, it was never a priority of the company because it was a remaster of an old strategy game. Right, this was per Bloomberg's reporting, right? So kind of going into the sources and all of that. Look, Warcraft 3, it's an awesome game.
I believe this game was remastered because of Mike Morhaim's final wish before he left. And while he was there, he was making it happen. And when he was gone, the people that just love money didn't care enough about... Because, like, Mike, obviously, he wants to make money too. He wants to make his company successful, and he did. But he also really loved StarCraft and Warcraft because guess what? It's his company. If you have a carpentry company and you get a really good name in a small village and then you hand it off to your son who never really wanted to do it, but he had nothing better lined up for him, and he takes over, chances are you aren't going to love the product as much, even if you love the money equally much as your father. That's just normal. Like, it doesn't even matter if Mike loved money more or games more. That's irrelevant. What is sure is that the new leadership did not love the game as much, to the point where they could make illogical decisions to put more effort into it to make the game good and sell 20% more or have 20% fewer refunds. So let's say if they sold 7 million copies and 120,000 people refunded because of the scam, and the rest just moved on with their life, minus $30-40 cake W, right? Then they did that while making a shit product that was heavily cut in costs, which for them is a win. It's a win. The reputation suffered, but maybe they move on to other companies in 3 years, and they're going to do the same thing with a publicly traded company. But for Mike, he would have wanted to sell 9 million copies instead of 7 million copies, have 0 refunds, or let's say 3,000 refunds, and have it be a prideful product. A product to be proud of. So I think they made really good money on Warcraft, and they don't feel punished because they don't feel connected to the company. Their future branches off differently than they don't see themselves with this company and with their name tied to the quality of the product. These money people.
It sold incredibly well. It defined so much of PC gaming, the MOBA genre, and bastards in charge of actually allocating resources to this project just decided, well, StarCraft 2, Warcraft, no. We need things that can sell millions and millions and millions of copies and have lots of recurring revenue. And there is absolutely no recurrent user spending in a game like this. So evidently that era of the company was...
Well, not right now, but they were talking about adding skins and releasing more skins. And you know what? Let's not be too limited in our thinking. They found a lot of the old Warcraft devs, and they still have a lot of devs within Blizzard. If they had wanted to do so, they could have added the Naga as a 5th race. They could have sold skins. They could have made new campaigns, start recreating some of the WoW story arcs and make new campaigns. It's actually not that difficult. Users could do that right now in the editor, but they could make it their own and get their voice actors and whatnot and sell DLC. It is possible. They just decided, nah, fuck it, let's not do any of that.
Was not at all interested. And I can definitely say that is absolutely what that area of the company was interested in. Somebody decently positioned. Well, they weren't when they talked to me, but they were decent a wee bit before that. And yeah, can't say names, but I think you probably would recognize.
How's the volume?
Was pretty much confirmed to me. Yeah, all that Activision shit you hear, true as hell. We feel it all the time.
That's for sure.
It was happening, and of course, really Reforged.
A little bit quiet.
When it became the most evident to players.
Yeah, for sure.
So, yeah, basically, War 3 Reforged was announced. At the time of the announcement, I mean, they had, from our report, from the reporting we saw, they'd actually done quite a lot of work on basically a Warcraft 3 Reforged that would be kind of bringing some elements of the lore a little bit more up to date and going a lot more high effort, right? So new voice work being done, more dynamic camera angles, some design tweaks to missions, just all of that to kind of modernize the experience. And I think really make it a game that they could just say, hey, World of Warcraft.
That's exactly the road Microsoft went with Age of Empires 2, no? Exactly. And you know, you're right, Genki Chomp, that's what Microsoft did. And you're right too, Zabusa. It's not difficult, but doing it on a quality level with art, asset, voice actor, and so on, that costs money. Don't think even with a great remaster they could have earned that back. First part is right, second part is wrong. I think many of us vastly underestimate the earning potential of games and DLC like this. We often tend to think quite shyly and think, oh yeah, you know, they have to earn too, and what if it's not profitable? But I think it is very profitable. I think Reforged was very profitable. Very, very profitable. Did you guys hear him? Yeah, I think it was profitable, and I think DLCs would be as well. And the fact that Microsoft is releasing expansion after expansion for Age of Empires 2 and 3 proves that it is profitable.
Only players that didn't play War 3. We've made this feel like a fresh, modern game with the characters you know and love. Go play. But it was never enough of a priority for that to actually be real. So basically, Blizzard kind of ended up doing this project out of obligation because they already took pre-orders on it.
Yeah.
And, you know, one of the things...
And Mike pushed it probably.
Pre-order came with the Meat Wagon mount in World of Warcraft. And I almost wonder if the promise of getting to replay a modern Warcraft 3 and, oh, look, I get a cool mount. Did that mount make them more fucking money than the game?
Maybe.
Almost certainly.
Ridiculous.
Maybe.
Almost certainly.
Because WoW players are already used to store mounts, right? So like $30 for a mount for them, it's a little steep, but you know, maybe I'll check it out for an hour and have some fun with the game.
And that's a thing where they say, like, that was whenever they took pre-orders, they weren't ready. That's what, you know, they were actually saying to people at Bloomberg. Yeah, no, the game wasn't ready when we pre-ordered.
Yeah.
We were just told to release this. And all those promises they made about making it, like, you know, this updated game, you know, kind of less remaster, more...
I'm gonna put a link to this video in the comments, in the description in the YouTube, and I'll link it to you guys now as well. Always try to give it a view as well and sub if you like the channel content.
Remaster Plus or closer to like raw remake kind of thing. That was stuff that they just kind of got confused about internally. Communications kind of went a little bit ski with. That's a word people recognize. And just Activision went, oh,
man,
20.
I was so excited seeing coming 2019. In the end, it ended up. Did it end up being 2020 or? I think so, right? Yeah. Yeah, it ended up being 2020. I got so excited when I see that because that logo still represented hope.
Give us some money. Well, Activision Blizzard, make us some money now. Sorry, we don't have anything else for you. Just release it.
Yeah, and then it turned out that Rob Breidenbecker basically...
he was known for an aggressive managerial style. I can kind of confirm that. He was... Yeah, he was... he definitely had a different energy when I interviewed with them for Reforged.
And let's just say an
But I don't know about the other stuff, of course, the professional stuff. No idea.
aggressive management style that was maybe not conducive to good results. So that didn't work out well. And then we heard from David Freed, who is a Warcraft 3 designer that actually went back to work in Reforged. I mean, what an opportunity. Imagine the excitement that so many of these staff will have had. Well,
any downsides to adding a 5th race? Yeah, it could muck up balance a bit. But I think we've been carefully protecting the state of Warcraft 3 for so long. And I think we need good PR boost. Let's say if everything goes perfectly and Blizzard ends up doing the remaster that it deserved to be, and they add another race, and they add, maybe a lot of copium, but they make the race kind of balanced or maybe a little strong. People are going to play that. It's so nice for esports and for players that as long as they kind of stick with it and do some iterations on balance, eventually it can get to a point where it ends up taking a healthy spot among the crowd. Is it 55% win rate against others? So what? We've enjoyed it as is for 20 years.
there were things in the works for War 3 Reforged.
We don't need it. Yeah, we don't need a 5th race, but and maybe you shouldn't. If it can be done well, it could be done. If it can't be done well, it shouldn't be done. Warcraft 3 has 4 races. StarCraft 2 has 3 races. Age of Empires 4 had 37 races, and now they have 39. So it's a smaller difference adding races there, like civs. It's easier, I guess, and the races are more similar than here, but it absolutely could be done.
That would have absolutely revitalized a classic.
And I was really against it before because I figured they're gonna mess it up, and I should still believe in that, in the power of messing it up, but it doesn't mean I don't want it or that it couldn't be done.
The game. And according to an Activision Blizzard spokesman, the central issue with Warcraft 3 Reforged was an early, unclear
Greed. The issue was greed. Nothing less.
vision and misalignment about whether the game is a remaster or a remake.
Yeah, so that's the context. The project was absolutely destroyed from within and without for a whole bunch of reasons. They kind of didn't really know what they were doing, and they didn't have the money to do what they wanted to do, and they're also forced to release it early, and they also got disbanded after they released it, so they couldn't fix it.
Yeah, it's all true.
So that's why, a lot of people will be sitting wondering, well, what's different now? Obviously, it's been quite a while since any updates here. So it's what's actually changed at Blizzard? What's changed at Activision? And is there any kind of hope for this project to be what people want it to be, or even just any better whatsoever?
Yeah. So the main thing is, in light of the acquisition, a lot of people, myself included, look at the Age of Empires franchise. We see how well it has actually been treated by Microsoft.
Cheetos.
Even when Age of Empires 4 is the hot new thing, they're doing...
Yeah, actually, I'm the same as you, Dushkin. Because of Reforged, I will probably never pre-order again. And I was really positive about pre-ordering before. Support the devs. You think it's going to be nice, right? Yeah. Support the devs, it's important.
Updates, like expansions, for Age of Empires, I think 2 and 3 Definitive Edition.
Yeah.
Just like new civs. That's just incredible. And there's actually some rumors going on right now that they are basically going to be doing a Master Chief Collection treatment. We're thinking to Gears of War.
Yeah, I think one rumor was either Gears of War or Fable, and then Tom Warren of The Verge basically hinted it was Gears of War. And that's a case of, well, that's an old franchise that, especially if you think about the positioning of original Gears and how very,
I thought
mid-2000s macho Xbox
about
360
Warcraft.
that was. That's going to kind of struggle a little bit to get taken further, maybe. But they still care about the franchise. They think it has value to players, value to Xbox players. Hey, let's properly give it the love it deserves. And I know Master Chief Collection had a bit of a wind-up to being actually considered good. But now you see Master Chief Collection's got a lot more players on average than Halo Infinite does. Or at least did for a while there. You're that's because they've given it the attention. So that's the kind of... Those are the people who now... Once it goes through, those are the people who will own Blizzard. People who actually respect what users want out of older franchises.
a lot of people said pre-ordering was dumb, but a lot of people did it when I recommended it for Reforged, and I didn't really get it, but now I do feel a little naive. But I think pre-ordering isn't necessarily dumb as a rule, but you will be abused by some of them, yes. I think pre-ordering is valid in the sense that you are supporting a indie dev. And it is a risk, and you should see the money as gone and wasted the moment you do it. In that capacity, I think pre-ordering makes sense. But not for a billionaire company. Even though I rationalized it before, the way I rationalized it was as follows. Well, Blizzard may be a multi-billion company, but the classic team is a small subdivision and they need to prove themselves to the management. They're not going to be getting more budget because Overwatch and Hearthstone are doing well, and WoW. They need to earn their budget from their own perspective, from their own circle. If we prove with enough pre-orders that there is a lot of interest in the game, then they will get more budget and will make better extra features. That was my thinking, and I think that is naive now. Well, whether Overwatch is doing well or not isn't the point. I think back then I believed it was. But I think if we're looking at like a smaller studio with 7 developers or 16 developers based in France or Sweden or something, and they have a pre-order and you think it's going to be good, see the money as disappeared the moment you pre-order because you want to support and because you've got faith. Accept that you may get burned. But yeah, no longer do it just because they're offering you one skin. So a lot of pre-orders, they're relying in parts on your goodwill and in parts because they're saying, you get to pick your name early. Like with, what's that thing called? Stadium, Google Stadium. I have 2 controllers for Google Stadium. I've never once unpacked it. Just so that I could lock in follow Grubby. But I mean... yeah, and don't do it for a skin or a mount. Yeah, scammed. Don't do it for a skin or a mount, okay? Don't pre-order for that. Do it only to throw away money to support a developer that you think deserves it and that it makes them more likely to be able to finish the product. But not for billionaire companies anymore. What the fuck is Google Stadium? Exactly. Stadia, by the way. It's Stadia!
And even if you want to be cynical about it, know how to...
Your rationale is sound as far as supporting small team of devs. If the money isn't flowing, they may get disbanded before they have a chance to earn it. Morale is also a consideration if they know their project isn't earning $dollar, which makes them question whether to look elsewhere for work.
Exactly. Those were my arguments for Blizzard, but I think they should mostly be applied to smaller devs.
To make money out of old franchises. Because Reforged didn't make any money after all the refunds went through.
Yeah. Now, the other thing is the Warcraft IP.
Yeah.
Which is actually getting more attention.
Oh, God.
Right, so there's been a bit of...
Okay, shall we make a guess how pay-to-win Warcraft Arclight Rumble is going to be? Because with Diablo Immortal, which I'm going to look at soon, they've really got a taste for it. And, I'm curious. I'm so curious how much you can spend to unlock everything. I think it's going to be a lot of pay-to-win.
Executive level shake-up, some higher...
How pay-to-win will it be? Yes.
and things like that going on with Warcraft in general. Okay, so a bit of the context here, of course, is Overwatch 2. Where is it? We know there's the beta, but that beta...
I played the alpha. It's a pretty hard grind if you won't pay. Yeah, and that leads you to the next question, right? Is a game pay to win? Okay, let's take Heroes of the Storm for an example. Let's say if I told you you need to spend 6,000 hours to unlock all the heroes without paying. And it's free to play, no pay up front, 6,000 hours, and you unlock all 90 heroes. Is that pay to win? Some people may say yes, some people may say no. If it is pay to win, I think it's the very lightest version of it. You can't get stronger, but you do have more draft strategy choice with more heroes. I would call that pay to unlock content. But it does mean that someone that starts playing and has 10 hours in the game, someone else starts playing and has 10 hours in the game, one drops $560, he's got all the heroes, other guy doesn't, they go in a draft, one guy has more chance. So to a degree, without grind, it is kind of pay to win. It's pay to faster, but I don't know if this term exists, but it's kind of like pay to unlock. If it takes more than 200 hours to unlock, everything is pay to win. So I think you'll find many different opinions on it, where we draw the line. And that line may even be moving as our culture shifts towards accepting pay to win more and more, sadly. Pay to progress. Yeah, the thing is, Heroes of the Storm progress is capped. Once you've got 90 heroes, there's nothing left to progress. That's why I feel pay to unlock is a pretty good nomer. When you look at Hearthstone, there's a virtually uncapped progression. So your action, and they release new content more than for Heroes of the Storm, right? So for Hearthstone, it's almost like, yes, it's pay to unlock. Yes, you can unlock everything, but realistically, you never will in a lifetime. And it doesn't stop at $560. It's more like $56,000 probably to unlock it all. So I feel like Hearthstone is more pay to win in a sense. Even Arena costs money, but if you go infinite, then it doesn't. So I'd say mostly Hearthstone is like a 7 out of 10 on the pay to win scale, and Heroes of the Storm 1 or 2 if anything, or even 0. But then Diablo Immortal is like a 27 on the scale of 10.
The PvP, that's a free update. The Overwatch 2 PvE that they get to make loads of box copy sales on, nobody knows.
Where is it?
Obviously, there's Diablo Immortal, but broadly speaking, the importance of World of Warcraft has increased as Blizzard have struggled in other areas, right? So what we've had here is that basically,
as soon as it gives you any kind of advantage, it's pay to win. Yeah, I think some people hold that opinion. I think it's on the extreme side of denouncing pay to win.
Jonathan Haidt, who used to be the executive producer on World of Warcraft,
I think that's a valid opinion.
He is now the general manager of Warcraft at a franchise level.
Wait, what? Oh, damn it. I still see Warcraft as Warcraft 3. And what's his name again? Belullar. It's first time I'm seeing his content. He, of course, is a WoW creator, so he sees Warcraft as WoW. All right, fine.
With Holly Longdale that people might recognize, going way back from EverQuest, but then, of course, also from the WoW Classic stuff. So Holly is now the executive producer of World of Warcraft and Classic. So we've got that going on, and just a few more like creative directors.
How is it extreme? If you can progress at all from external means, it's pay to win. It's very simple. I think it is extreme because, well, at least it's reductive of the scale. I see it as a spectrum, pay to win. I see it as a spectrum, and some things you can unlock a little bit. Let's say if HOTS was free to play, you could play 88 heroes, but one hero you had to pay money for, $2. Then wouldn't that be... you would call that game pay to win, because there's any content at all that can only be unlocked with money, or that needs to be grinded 2 hours for in order to unlock. So like, I think it's a scale. That's why I'm saying your opinion is a little extreme, because heroes, you can reasonably unlock a lot of stuff. Not every hero is equally valid or important, and so on and so on. You call that pay to win, and I call that extreme.
And narrative director on World of Warcraft as well. So they're taking some of those things more seriously.
Yeah.
Then, of course, Warcraft Arc Light Rumble War. They want to make king money by doing a different take on Clash of Clans. So there's that.
Yeah.
Then
Hey, Clash of Clans is actually an Empire Alliance game that uses social relations in the game to make you spend money on each other and to show how rich you are, so that you can beat others with your amazing troops that you bought, with resources that you bought with real money. That's Clash of Clans. I think it means Clash Royale, which is also quite pay to win and has this kind of gameplay, which is not with alliances in that sense, with kingdoms in real time and getting attacked and stuff.
I
have played Clash Royale for more than a month. I've played it for years, so I know the game quite well, Madru gamers.
In addition to those roles I talked about.
Yeah, they're separate games. Clash Royale is kind of like a line tower wars, and Clash of Kings is one of those Empire Alliance real-time strategy games that you wake up in the middle of the night for after sleeping 2 hours to send your troops out again, and then you go to sleep, and in 2 hours you wake up again to build a wonder with your alliance, and then you go to sleep again, and it takes over your life.
Also just generally hiring up. And when you look at Dragonflight, you see them not really bolting on shiny shit. Instead, there's more of a focus on core game fundamentals that will last the test of time. It's a marked departure from how Battle for Azeroth, well, Legion, Battle for Azeroth, and Shadowlands were developed. So that's all good.
Yeah, after World of Warcraft, basically, for the first time ever, took 2 hits in a row, effectively. Because it was always like good expansion, bad expansion. Now I've had 2 expansions that have kind of failed a little bit. Not in sales, but in terms of general longevity of the franchise. And everything that happened in 2020 and 2021, I think they are just like, this franchise was way more important than we thought. Maybe we, Blizzard, aren't as good at spinning up IP as we believed we were. Oh shit, they've like eaten a helping of humble pie, and now have to go, we have to actually respect Warcraft fans now. And that's why they're kind of actually giving it that lease of life. And I mean, to me, it seems, you know, anytime a big move happens from a company like this, I expect it's out of desperation.
Yeah.
Especially looking at what Activision have done and looking at like how Vanguard was like, oh shit, is our massive boat Call of Duty? Are there holes in it? Shit.
And so, similar with Warcraft, and then you have to remember there's been many Activision Blizzard earnings calls where World of Warcraft and Call of Duty are highlighted as the 2 big things.
Yep, absolutely.
Especially in the post-Overwatch decline era. So these things are important to them. As for what they could do, well, could there be a major patch in the works since 2021?
Consider free-to-play game as a demo of a game. You can play it as much as you want to for free, but if you choose to actually support the game, you can pay money for the full-featured version of the game. Right, like if in Heroes of the Storm, you could only play free-to-play rotation heroes, and for €60, you would have them all. That would be like shareware into a real game. That's been true since 1995 or 1990, right? Like that model. And we didn't really call that pay to win. It was just like a sample. So, yeah, I think, I mean, you're allowed to have the opinion, but I think it's reductive to call everything pay to win without quantifying what it actually is. How pay to win it is. I think we should see it on a scale. And I would call like Unkept. I mean, whatever mobile games do, that's a 10 for me right now. But it may be an 8 in the future. It can get worse.
So,
could be, yeah.
Mike Ibarra has apparently confirmed there was a patch incoming.
Hey, what is this? What is this? I'm referenced in this, whatever this article is. Did they link it? That's interesting. No, they didn't link any article.
On his Twitch stream. And that is a novel thing too. The boss of Blizzard Entertainment regularly just streams playing games on Twitch.
Yeah, I think, I can't remember if it was this or something different because there's a couple of different times he spoke about it. But very specifically, he was literally asked by someone in chat, you know, any news on Warcraft 3 Reforged? And he goes, nothing that I'm aware of, but I will speak to the team. I'll see what comms could go out anytime soon for that. Because there is a team literally working on it.
Yeah.
So we don't know anything about that team or who they are or where they are. All we know is they are working on it because he said so, basically.
There has then been a rumor floating around that they're basically going to de-raid Shadow Legends things.
Yes.
A lot of people, I mean, myself very much included. Okay, look, I think for some people, they see something and it looks a bit more photoreal and there's more pixels and they're like, oh, look at that, more detail, happy.
Better, yeah.
I look at Warcraft 3 Reforged and I think, where did the art style go?
Yep.
Hello?
Yep.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I feel like only very uninvolved people, and I get these comments on my YouTube videos as well, and I respect the opinion, but I think they're very uninvolved with the game, and they comment things like, I like the Reforged graphics better. And I don't think they give it a lot of detailed look. I don't think they look at how the gameplay goes. I don't think they've actually played with it. They want the icon, there's a bit more pixels, but it's uncohesive, but they never find out because they don't compare all, 600 units in the game or the 100 meta units in the game.
So there is a rumor.
And I think some people are genuinely just, they can have the opinion, but they're genuinely just not good at judging whether something looks good artistically. I mean, you can have talent in music or you don't. You have talent in art evaluation or you don't. And I'm not saying that I do, but I've seen some green-lit opinions on some Reforged art that's just not good, and I disagree with them.
Floating around, it's the sort of one where it seems like people have maybe heard something, but they can't say where...
Look, this looks good here. That was never the problem, right? The pauldrons are a little big. Artistically, it looks quite good. But it ends up not fitting with the rest, and the lighting implementation is awful and very different than what we see here.
just floating around this like circle of people who are broadly in the know about things, but we can't really confirm it. But apparently there's going to be some sort of graphical update. Now the thing is, I have
I'm not sure that's even confirmed, actually. I think that's what we're hoping for.
not been hiring people specifically for this. But then, of course, Vicarious Visions, the whole company, was merged into Blizzard Entertainment. They're
I don't know why I've got so paranoid, but when he said Vicarious Visions was in my head it finished murdered. That would be just the next drama. That would be, just my mind. Merged. Cool.
mostly working on Diablo 4, from what we understand. They also did Diablo 2 Resurrected.
Like, damn it,
but
Blizzard!
Maybe.
Yeah, that's a thing where they had a full team that was, the Tony Hawk's Pro Skater size team. That's a big game. Diablo 2 was also a big game. But also, you can kind of see, that was finished in September. So you could see how they would be able to divert some of those resources. Could go to Diablo 4, because basically everyone they're hiring.
Almost all of these just straight up look better. Like, undeniably so. I mean, definitely higher fidelity. You may not necessarily
divert some of those resources. Could go to Diablo 4.
All proportions of the Blade Master or all the
hiring.
changes. I mean, it looks better. Like, it's good. But not very good on the gameplay. And this isn't even how they really look like in the game. And plus, then there's how they move in game. That's still a question.
For Albany, for their Blizzard Albany is now called, as opposed to Vicarious Visions. Everyone they're hiring for them is hiring for the Diablo 4 project. So I haven't seen anything else. But at the same time, they could have
These guys are idiots. Why? Booty Magnet. Can you say why?
Some of the resources that they don't need for DTR, especially considering they're a remaster specialty studio, they're a reporting studio, they're a remaster studio. If almost out of nearly any studio in the world, you went, here's an old game, here's sort of how it works, here's some documentation, go make it happen now, they would probably be the best for that, and they demonstrated that with the D2R.
Yep.
Because that is basically D2 remade in a pretty brilliant way. So I think that's a case of I think that might be them. Just because I think Blizzard internal resources, I don't know if they super have that free.
Yeah, they're kind of allocated to other things. And that
I
team.
hope Vicarious Visions is working on this. They're very secretive about who is actually on Reforged right now.
Was destroyed.
This is what we want, right? Like what Diablo 2 got?
Yeah.
Now to move on to
And not just the SE2 models into Warcraft 3 ported in some hacky way. Just properly high definition versions of what we used to have.
community want. One of the figureheads of this community, I mean, I've known of Grubby for such a long time, playing StarCraft and everything, is Grubby, right? War 3 community, he's been a pro player for a very long time. Talked about what the community wants as he sees it. So the first thing is that W3 Champions made a ladder system, and that's basically keeping the game from a multiplayer sense alive.
True. They're even doing reporting. Lamau got silenced seconds after we reported.
He is worried that with this being a third-party piggyback service, that Blizzard...
Can we just all give a thanks for a moment for everyone that's involved in W3 Champions? Like, not just the making of it, but the running of it. It can't be... it can't always be the best thing that they're doing in their lives to read reports of the next person being racist in W3 Champions games, leaving early. We're reporting. These things are almost always a thankless job. And people start to get used to the existence of W3 Champions and the running of it, even though it's entirely a volunteer job. Eventually people get used to things that they're getting. So the funny ironic thing about human psychology is eventually if someone that has never done anything for you gives you a broken shoe, you'd be happier with that than the person that's been giving you new shoes every year for 10 years because you're used to it now. You're thinking about the 11th year when you're getting the shoes. And that's the human condition. And we need to guard ourselves against the entitlement and the expectation of people doing nice things for you and for everyone. Like altruistic things, actually. So thank you so much, W3 Champions guys. Because you have to deal with freaking reports too. Jeez.
Could maybe kill it.
Yeah.
So there's obviously worry there. He said that Blizzard don't deserve the community, but they are there for Blizzard if Blizzard wants help. Basically the idea of like, hey, you have us over so much. They want actual moderation for the game. Basically, as you said, moderation ain't happening.
Yep.
Right? So there's nobody's doing anything.
I don't understand the analogy. Big respect to W3 champions for sure. Well, look, some of the players that either base their livelihood or their enjoyment on playing on W3 champions treat the admins like an afterthought or even like shit. And they expect admins of W3 champions to fix things immediately when they need it done. Whereas we are so lucky with them already. Blizzard would probably have never done anything like this for us anymore. And W3 Champions is doing that. So I'm grateful for them. I know it may not last forever. I'm appreciating every day that we have it.
The way Grubby said it is Battle.net reports are just going into the void. Just straight up gone. There's probably some like task management or some like support software racking up all these tickets.
It isn't. There isn't.
And just the chair is empty.
Nope.
Because they don't have anyone looking at it.
Yep.
Brutal.
He says the custom maps that are relying on Reforged models should be preserved, even if Reforged is, being reworked visually. Yeah. And that's just the thing.
I think Twitch keeps the game alive. Yeah, Twitch too, but like, we could replace Twitch with Facebook or YouTube, and it'll be, in the current iteration, a worse experience, probably. And maybe eventually it wouldn't be. And I hope there are more competitors. But you could replace that. But W3 Champions would have to be replaced by something that doesn't exist yet.
Man, the community thinks something's going on there.
Yeah, that's what I found that particularly interesting, because it had those vibes of everyone knows about this, everyone's under NDA or don't want to get their source in trouble, so they don't literally say, but they all kind of act as if it's happening, because a lot of that open letter video was about, if you're changing this, be careful not to damage this.
Yeah.
And that was for ladders, that was for custom maps and the visual models, that was kind of maintaining the art style and graphics for any changes, and that was a pretty big part of it overall. So I feel like they might have, not sure if anything big will be like announced for soon, but I feel like if something is going to happen in June, it very much is going to be here. We're sorry it looks like this, it'll look different.
I'm not expecting an apology. I kind of want it, but I also kind of don't need it anymore. I'm not expecting it. It wouldn't change anything, even if they do.
Very sorry again. At least hopefully.
Yeah, and then also a community balance patch.
Yeah, because I think the recent balance patch of, I say recent, April 2021, I feel like...
I saw this video. Someone said, do you need the person that hurt you to apologize to you for the hurt and to recognize it? Why would you need that as proof? You already know that you were hurt. So why do you need them to say it? It doesn't change anything. Apologies are only useful insofar as they commit to a change in behavior with genuine intent. Every other apology, and I'm speaking of interpersonal relationships as well as business, completely useless. Completely useless. The only apology that means anything is from a genuine recognition of the hurt, a genuine intent to change the behavior that led to that. And for the rest, it's just saying sorry, which doesn't have any value. And some people even sell their word sorry and expect immediate recompense. I said sorry, now you must do this thing for me again that got you hurt in the first place. Like, no, screw that. And demanding apologies is 100% useless. It's just posturing. And this is a universal truth. If you demand an apology, you're just asking to be lied to.
I think some of that didn't go down super well. Yeah. I'm not super sure because that game's complicated to actually
Good points. I still want them on their knees, though. Yeah, I want them humiliated.
Last one, to be honest. But
and then, of course, some of the features, they were kind of just some of the features like, custom campaigns, ladder, global custom games, profiles, that sort of thing. And also maybe a community manager.
Yeah, so just, some of the promised features.
Yeah.
Or some of the features that were in the old game. Can we have them back, please? That would be nice. In the remake,
custom campaign.
Half the game. Sweet.
Lon.
Nice. But yeah, that's the thing where this is definitely from the angle of a Warcraft 3 veteran and multiplayer player. I feel like, because obviously none of this really deals with the promises they made from the overall perspective of players. And I think for me, I think on a grand scale, on the can they get a headline that people are actually resonating with? Can they right the wrong of Reforged? And to be fair, I think it would have to be not like a full No Man's Sky.
Even in the trailer, the game looks
but
choppy.
It would have to be a, hey, we know we have video footage of what we promised you. We're going to make that.
Yeah.
Or we're going to try to make that at the least. This may not make us profit. This may not be, you know, a financially sensible decision in the short term, but we have to put the resources into giving you the game we promised you. I feel like that.
Is it too late for them to right the wrong? Yes, of course it is too late. The wrong already happened, but they can still do good things. Weren't you the ones who said good actions are good actions even if they have a secret attitude earlier? Well, you're phrasing it a bit differently, but I don't see how that's related to the apology thing.
That's the only thing they can do. Because, I mean, obviously it'd be nice to make the multiplayer community happy, but that wouldn't right those wrongs. That would be a bandage on this just gaping wound that they haven't really addressed and is just festering. So
I worry that if Blizzard does something good, don't hold out hope, the community won't give it a chance, and the wider media that doesn't really know about the game will just take this as a vulture opportunity to crap on Reforged again. Well, I think we shouldn't blame ourselves if Blizzard acts like our initial reaction is less than excited and then decides to quit. It's like, well, sorry about everything that happened, but look, we've added Footman footprints and we are working on it again. This is step 1. And we're like, what the fuck? And well, it's like, oh, you don't like our first patch? Well, never mind then. I don't want to do it anymore. Like, if that's the route they're going with, they didn't want to do it in the first place. Like, either they are going to do it or they're not going to do it, right? And any community reaction is going to be relatively, well, based in emotion because of what they did before. They should get that. Either they're going to commit themselves to making something good or not. Don't blame ourselves for it, because they tried to use that against us, yeah? They said they're going to remaster the campaign with 4 hours of new cutscenes. And then they said that it was our fault because we didn't like everything they were doing. That's why they stopped the project and canned some of the campaign remastering. They said it was because we didn't like everything. Same with the UI. They designed a new UI. We saw different versions of it, both publicly, and I saw some internal versions of UIs as well. Different, like sometimes the numpad is like this, like the items inventory is 6 vertical, sometimes it was 6 horizontal, different iterations. We gave feedback. Some of it we said we like, some of it we don't like. And then they were like, well, it didn't seem like you liked the whole thing, so just never mind, we'll just keep the old UI cool. It's like, it's not our fault. Let's not blame ourselves. They're just canning it and then shoving away blame. You're 100% right. I'm victim blaming myself. Sheesh, need to check into therapy. It's okay, we got gaming therapy going on here. This is a support group for people that have been hurt by Reforged. I'm the ringleader, but everyone gets a chance to speak. I myself too. I'm hurt too.
I hope they do something pretty major. I hope that's what the announcement is. I hope it is. We're sorry.
When it comes to apologies, if the transgression is particularly egregious or serious, it is much harder to save face and requires a lot more effort to make up for or pay for what was done. In some cases, it's actually a better PR move to not apologize at all, just make a change. Yeah, very true. And that's obviously the route that they chose to do here. So much went wrong, and they were not within capacity or willingness to change it within the next few years, that they clearly chose the strategy of complete radio silence. And that was actually the best damage saving strategy that they could have done, right, Snapsor?
We really fucked this up. We'll do it properly this time. But I can't say if that's going to happen.
On the art style front, we just want to highlight.
Yeah, I'll check out Frostshine RTS announcement next week.
Basically, just
together with you.
Like you can see, obviously the original War 3 here. This is kind of like a SD plus model in a way.
Yep, from the StarCraft 2 engine that they added for custom games in 2015.
Yep.
Why did you not just use this?
Research.
And it's funny because if you look at that, right? You know, sure, it doesn't look. It's not as high poly or high resolution as the War 3 Reforged version of that character. Well, the War 3 Reforged version
is
of
it
that
better to look evil than weak, Snapsor?
Character isn't even authentic to what that character looks like. That's one thing. It's got a different haircut, looks weird. It's like a weird buzz thingy. but this is like the...
I do like his eyes more than this guy's eyes. This guy has almost no eyes. This guy looks proper upset.
the art...
And he's a bit too smooth. This guy has like real presence.
Art style and the readability of the game is preserved. That's kind of important. Because if you look at War 3 Reforged with the new assets, the readability's in the bin compared to the original game.
Yep, absolutely.
And that means it's just not the same thing. And here's, again, looking at like some other assets. They could have just used these. I have a feeling that what happened with War 3 Reforged is they wanted these like in-game models that they could maybe also use in cinematics. Yeah. And maybe that's what changed the requirements for like what the facial rig is supposed to be able to do. But from a gameplay perspective, I mean, I think it's a pretty self-evident thing.
Yeah, that's the thing where I think, especially now that people are looking at these and going, well, these have all been in StarCraft 2. And we know what you did with Heroes of the Storm as well, where you took a bunch of Warcraft characters and made them look beautiful.
Yeah.
Why did we not have this? And that's the thing where, you immediately go, well, obviously they had more ambitious plans and it didn't work out.
Yeah, true.
And that's a failure of management. That's a failure
Doesn't
of
look
production.
like a
That's
Blizzard
a failure
game.
of like the whole project, as opposed to like just an easy mistake to make. There's a very just complex situation. But that's the thing where people are like, here's the fix. You have all this.
Yeah.
And I think that's like, it can be annoying definitely sometimes for developers and publishers and stuff to have just, people in the stands, people in the audience.
Yeah, the art was outsourced to a Malaysian studio called Lemon Sky Studios. It was still being directed by the people in USA working at Blizzard. So they would say, make us a Parry Up to Fatality icon, and they would make it. Then they would get it back at Blizzard. Like Lemon Sky would make it. Blizzard would look at it and either say it's good enough or it's not. And because money and staff were increasingly limited as Blizzard management kept downscaling the project, and time, like obviously the devs knew they were turning out a hot steaming shit pile. So at some point they were just like, all right, we'll run with this, and Parry Up to Fatality, Potion of Healing, it all looked like shit. I actually sent a big email giving feedback on 20, 30 icons or so, explaining why they're not similar enough to the original in terms of recognition, right? Not just because old is good, new is bad. They're not similar enough to the original, which set real quality standards. There is there's a needless difference between different icons in Reforged and Classic. It's meaningless because you could do it like this or you could do it like that. But why do it like this and then do it like that for Reforged, just to be different? Maybe it's following WoW or something, but like this is Warcraft 3 and we're used to Greater Healing Potion being dark green and now it's like light green, which actually makes it look like Healing Salve. So now Healing Salve and Greater Healing Potion didn't have recognition anymore. It took me to give them that feedback, send them an email that probably took me 3-4 hours to change 20 icons of items, even though there's hundreds of items. And I was going to do all the rest. But I'm looking at my month and I'm thinking, this is going to take me 20 hours a month, if not more. And I'm doing their work for free, doing consultation, right? And there's so much more to do. I suddenly saw, I was happy that the people that still work there were listening to my feedback and making changes. And they were. They came back with other icons and maybe 20 icons for Reforged were improved directly because of my feedback. But I could also feel that there must have been a sense of desperation to need my feedback to that degree. Yeah? In order to make these changes, that's how strapped for time and money the remainder of the devs must have been. So it gave me hope, while at the same time it gave me despondency, hopelessness. It's like, oh, well, it's good, they're listening to me. Oh, but it's bad because they listened to everything exactly how I said it and made changes on these, and not one other icon was changed that I didn't put in my list. So you can see how that's both good and bad, right?
Go. Why'd you not do it the way I would have done it? You're like, well, there's obviously problems with being armchair dev. But for this case, it's still a massive PR hit for people to go,
this mission became a lot
cooler.
cooler.
We can see what you've done. We know what you're capable of. Why are you making these dumb...
They should have used your feedback to screen all items. They only did what you said because they were overwhelmed. Yeah, and they did, yeah, I think so. That's true. And they had many different... They did have many art direction changes as different people manned the project. So that's never healthy either.
Mistakes? Why can you not just give us what we want? It's so simple. And that's, I think, the point. It's so simple. Just don't make Reforged bad. So that's the legacy they have to kind of deal with now and kind of correct. Though it's interesting, I don't know when this is going to happen, actually. Because I thought this would be a Summer Games Fest thing.
Oh.
But
yeah, here's the horizontal inventory, see? And that's weird because it changes the hotkeys because they were corresponding to your numpad. So we're used to using 7, 8, 4, 5, 1, 2, and this would be 7, 8, 9, 4, 5, 6. But like that's not an insurmountable problem. We gave feedback on things like this. I think the UI Warcraft Classic is way too freaking big. And I think there's some real advantages to this. And it could just be smaller because our monitors are bigger these days. You could take the exact same UI that Classic has now and simply shrink it 50%. Because, thanks for the sub, I appreciate that. You too, James Lewin. Because our monitors are bigger. We can see it, don't worry. But even if they go for a minimalistic approach, I think there's improvements to be made that are possible. I loved this part too. The fact that the character you're controlling has like a green screen implementation, just like content creators like myself are doing. I thought that was cool. It kind of makes you feel more entwined with the character as well, like Arthas. It looks good. I like this avatar a lot. So like there definitely were a couple of cool things, just never finished, right?
Partners announced. Activision's there, but not Activision Blizzard. So I think
I'm still on my 13-inch CRT from 1991. No, you're not.
They may have their own little thing planned for June time. Somewhere maybe a little bit after the first wave of Summer Games Fest news.
Interesting. Well, potentially that could indicate they're more just wanting to address their community rather than a massive marketing thing. But look, that's basically it. There's not too much else. So today we've covered what the leader of Blizzard has said, and then, of course, the kind of community, A, wish list, and then B, the kind of rumors that are swirling about.
Yep.
Ultimately, for Blizzard to be respected again, they need to get this right. They need to right this wrong. Let's hope that whatever happens in June is either very comprehensive or is just the first in
many.
a decently long announced set of plans.
Yeah.
To actually do right.
That's
by
what
the
it'll
community.
take.
Perhaps we have it in June they come in and they fix it up for the multiplayer crowd and say, hey, single player, we're working on that. Here's a rough timeline.
Amen.
Yeah, it just needs the first step to rebuild the trust. Because otherwise I do think like no matter what they do on World of Warcraft, no matter what they do with Overwatch, this is like just an axe hanging over their head.
It's just
it deserves to.
Well, to be honest, it's not. That's the sad part. We would want it to be, but really it's not. The axe already swung. Whatever they do now with Warcraft matters very little in the public court of opinion when it comes to Blizzard. People that have never played Warcraft, but they play Overwatch and whatnot, they don't care what happens to Warcraft anymore. For them, the ship has already sailed. Us, 10, 100,000 people that still play and follow Warcraft 3 on a semi-regular basis or very regular basis, for us it matters. But not for the average Overwatch player. Like, even if they did everything right for Reforged, it would be a small blip for them, I think.
To be?
It's a mark in their reputation.
Yep.
This is the game, I think more than really any other blunder, this is the one that, like, shattered the idea of, like, every Blizzard
That is true. The shattering of Reforged was very public. Very, very public. Everybody now knows what happened with Reforged, I think. It was extensively covered. And any repair will never get the same PR. Of course it won't. It doesn't mean they shouldn't do it.
This is good.
Yep. This is, was it like in the 50s or something on Metacritic? Something grim like that? Or was it down to 30? Anyway, it was embarrassingly low. It was brutal.
So there you go. That's the story. Hopefully we get some good news from this sort of newer era of things. And with that,
shout out to Belullar News for featuring this. Good channel, good content, deserves a sub. Definitely.
Well, check out the video really to...
Cool. Link is in the description. And next, I'm going to do a video on Diablo Immortal. And why I will or won't play it.